do you all know that the Barlow Road was actually part of the Oregon Trail? All right?
No.
Oh, you don't know that?
No, never mind. Don't tell me.
When the Oregon Trail was 2,000 miles long, roughly, from Independence, Missouri, through Kansas, Nebraska, Wyoming, Iowa, and then Oregon. 2,000 miles. Now picture yourself walking, and by the way, most of them walked because the wagons that were pulled by the oxen, they were basically, you know, you were carrying all your worldly goods on it, you know, your kitchen, your bathroom, your everything, and so most people walked. When you see depictions of the pioneers, you see them walking by alongside their oxen. Maybe the dad in the family had a horse, you know, to go scout out ahead or something. But anyway, so picture yourself, you've just walked 1,900 miles and you got to the Dalles. From the Dalles, now you've got about another 110 miles to Oregon City. And in those days, it was impossible there was no I-84. So you couldn't go by along the river. There was only two ways in the first years. You could either build yourself a raft, which was time-consuming and expensive and so on, and dangerous because a raft is not all that stable necessarily, and there have been, people have died and drowned. There was another possibility. They say that some people actually swam. Oh, people were bringing their cattle as well.
Oh, yeah.
So they would swim their cattle across the river, believe it or not, to the Washington side, and apparently on the Washington side it was easier to actually walk along the river. But then they had to do the same thing again back to Portland, around Portland back to Oregon. Anyway, so in 1845, and the numbers kept rising. It started in the early 1840s. Before 1840, the only people here were, other than the Native Americans, were the some mountain men, trappers, whatnot, you know, some people who had actually married Indian ladies here, and just very few. Oh, and the only other western settlements were those that came by ship around South America, because there was no Panama Canal either. So, and then they established Fort Vancouver and Astoria. Right. So those two were established places. But other than that, there was nobody else. So then, Jason Lee, I think it was. Jason Lee, he was a reverend preacher, an early missionary who came here. From Fort Vancouver, he rode home to the east. Very flowery things, like, for example, what he said was, the climate here is mild year-round, there are no storms or crop failures, and flowers bloom at Christmas time. So,
sounds like Caribbean.
Some of the pioneers, as they were starting off from Missouri, they wrote in their diaries, "Oh, Oregon, it must be so beautiful." By the time they came here, they said, "Oh, Oregon, I don't like you so much yet." Because they were starving, a lot of them had run out of provisions, and you had just walked 1,900 miles, right? And then what awaited you here was the worst part of it. This was the hardest, everybody agreed, this was the hardest part of it.
It was harder than the Rockies?
Yes. Yes, because of the heavy trees and the steepness. Laurel Hill was the steepest part of the whole Oregon Trail.
Wow.
Straight down. You'll see it. It seems almost impossible that anybody went down that way, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
I think I got brakes.
Anyway, so in 1845, sorry, what I wanted to say, in 1841, only 110 people came over in wagons. 42, 130 people. In 43 was the big movement. 900 people showed up, almost 1,000. In 1844, about almost 1,500 people, and in 1845, 3,000 people. And they came as far as the Dalles, that's as far as they could get along the river. And then there was a big backup now. You got 3,000 people waiting to, plus it was dangerous to go down the river, it was expensive, time consuming and everything. They started almost every year, it was the same pattern. They started from Missouri in about April, end of April, maybe beginning of May, and they came here in September, early October, just before the winter storms hit in. So they traveled for like 5 or 6 months. On average, they covered about 13.3 miles. That's by my own calculations. But some days they did 0 miles, because some days they were just resting. They called it, not recuperating, they called it recruiting. They stopped to recruit. Maybe that's how they spoke in those days, I don't know. But the most they did in one day was approximately 25 miles. Now, I don't know about you, but 25 miles would kill me.
Walking?
Yeah, walking.
That was on the flat prairie.
Backpacking, that's okay.
On some of the flat prairie, yeah. On average, like I said, on average, they did manage to average about 13 miles per day. So that was, you know, some days 20 miles, some days 10 miles. But still, day after day after day. So anyway, so in 1845, 3,000 people stopped at Wascopam. You know what Wascopam is? That's the Dalles.
Oh.
We got the Wasco County from there. Wascopam. That's an Indian word. So they said, let's see if we can find a way around it, around the mountain instead of going down the Columbia River. And they came, that Barlow, okay, there were 3 famous people in that party. Samuel Barlow, Joe Palmer, the guy after whose Palmer Snowfield is named now, and the third one was William Rector. Those 3 were the leaders of the pack, so to speak. They had between them, I don't know, over 30 wagons or more. And they came as far as a place they called the Deadening. Now, I don't know, does anybody know for sure? I haven't checked it myself, but I think it's within probably 2 miles or less from here, along this road.
Half acre?
No. The Deadening. Oh, yeah, the half acre.
Like
sorry, I thought you said Baker. The Devil's Half Acre, it was called. Oh. The Devil's Half Acre. I think it's about a mile or 2 miles from here.
Mile.
Okay, so that's how far they came, and suddenly they realized they're out of time. It's already getting to be, I don't know, either late September or early October. They saw the weather changing, and they were out of provisions. So what they did is they built a temporary cabin there. They called it Fort Deposit, kind of like a... And then they stashed their, God, what do they call it? All their possessions, their plunder. Somebody referred to it as their plunder. They stashed all their possessions, their wagons and everything in there. And then they followed, there was no Barlow Road yet, but there was an Indian trail, which was single file. So basically horses, cattle, people, everybody could make it, except wagons couldn't, right? Because wagons were too wide. So they made it single file to Oregon City, and somehow they wintered there, and then the next spring, Barlow and a crew of 40 people came back in the spring of 1846, and then they actually cut the trail that we're going to bicycle now, okay? So, where is the Barlow Road? You would think that it's here. In fact, there's a sign here saying Barlow Road on this gate. Yep. By the way, this was totally open for road traffic. You could actually drive down this road last year or something. This is very recent. They closed this road, and there's a sign somewhere lower down there that explains that there's a bridge that's, there's a problematic bridge about a mile from here. And because of that, they closed it to traffic. But I believe you could still bicycle it. However, no, we will start from here and go west. But, watch this. The normal assumption would be, okay, so they came up here. This is Barlow Pass. Elevation 4,100 feet. It's a little higher than government camp. And then they continued down that way. That's a paved road going down that way, right? Seems logical, right? But you'd be wrong on both counts. This is not exactly Barlow Road, and that definitely is not Barlow Road over there. Let me show you where the real Barlow Road is. Come on, follow me up here. There was an interpretive sign right here. I don't know why they removed it just 2 months ago.
Part of the trail.
Okay, this is actually a busy intersection, isn't it? One clue that there, and especially not this, is not Barlow Trail, is that it goes at 90 degrees. They didn't do that unless they really had to. Barlow Trail kept going in a straight line whenever possible. And here it is. It came from there. And by the way, just to give it away, that there is just a small bypass, but that road and this trail, they merge only a few hundred yards from here. A couple hundred yards maybe, I don't know. So this is the real Barlow Road, right here. And then it continues in a straight line. And unfortunately that blue cars, or blue and white cars, are now blocking the way. But see, there's a little bit of a room there between those two trees.
Sure.
That's where Barlow Road is. It'll become very evident as soon as we mount our bikes and head that way.
We're going that way?
Yes.
We're gonna go down that road?
We will be going down that way.
Good.
And notice one other thing.
No bikes.
This here is the Pacific Crest Trail. It comes from there and then it continues straight in that direction. It crosses Highway 26 and then starts climbing Mount Hood. So Pacific Crest Trail, Barlow Trail, and so what is that paved road there? Any guess? That's the old Mount Hood Highway, yes. The Mount Hood Loop Highway. All right, let's get our bikes. Original wagon route, it says in this one. But let me point out something. Remember what I said about Barlow Trail being a straight line? Well, the Barlow Trail actually continues down this gully right here.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
They put up this tree to prevent people from going there, I think, because it's kind of a... The trail is not being preserved or kept or anything. There's lots of fallen trees and whatnot.
How do you do it?
So what the hell is that there then? We will be bicycling down there. What happened was, several years after the Barlow Road was already in place, the stagecoach came in. And the stagecoach couldn't handle some of the steep descents that were, you know, like that. And so the stagecoach people actually built this little S. There's going to be a big S going that way, then coming back to the Barlow Road, and going back the other way, and then coming back again. But this is the only place where that's pretty obvious by itself, that this is the straight line of the Barlow Road. When we get down to the lower end, I'm not sure that we'll be able to see where exactly the Barlow Road came out, because there's so much new growth and everything. So anyway, let's enjoy the ride now. And be prepared to
Get a ride?